How do you do? Mr. Carl Lemley feels it would be a little unkind to present this picture without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now is your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Man, this popcorn is so good. Oh, it's Pizza Man.
Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing this evening?
Doing all right.
Doing well. Doing well.
You can't just groan the entire evening, Gourd King. You can't do that.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's too much pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice.
I am not that kind of white chick, although I will sometimes partake in the pumpkin spice cookies.
Pumpkin spice is the devil.
Although
and cultural appropriation.
Unless it's in a pumpkin pie.
Although my
How you
favorite
doing?
part about fall is pumpkin pie.
Yes, that is
My
the best
gosh.
I know.
pumpkin pie.
The horror.
It's-
The horror.
You're just consuming his people.
We are so oppressed.
You're quite tasty, though. I mean, come on.
I know, and if that were an innuendo, I would be a little weirded out, but still kind of flattered. But that's not how it's meant. It's meant as an edible thing, and that makes me sad.
I don't think this
Like
is
edible
getting
brownies?
better, Gourd King. I don't think it's getting better.
So how's it going, Mando?
It's going. It is going well. Yesterday I played some Dungeons and Dragons and I drank most of my rum yesterday because I have friends who've never played Dungeons and Dragons before, and it's great.
Oh, they were casting magic missile at the darkness.
So no, all
Is
of our
that a euphemism?
spellcasters don't know how to cast spells, and they don't remember that they have spells that they
There's
can cast.
There's a really old, I can't even remember how old it is, but it's like a little skit that somebody did, like an animation, where they're trying to get somebody who's never played Dungeons and Dragons to play before. And they're like, you come into a room and it's dark, and the guy's like, I cast magic missile at the darkness. Like what? Just like everything.
that
Everyone
would be-
wanted to cast magic missile at everything he did.
That would
Now-
be. I would prefer that over.
But-
Wait, I am like a magic character. I'm gonna hit it with a stick.
A really cunning DM, as soon as he did that, would have the darkness attack.
Yeah, it's just the way the guy
Be
was
a
doing.
mimic.
You know, he was just like, oh my.
No, literally,
It's gonna win.
like on the fly, make a monster up. And like if you remember the movie with a shadow, was it with the evil tooth fairy? Darkness Falls.
I thought you were talking about the Dwayne Johnson.
No, the Darkness Falls. Just you gotta. I used to dungeon master a lot, and you gotta be ready when the players throw you a lob across the plate. You've got to be ready to hit that ball out of the park when you're a DM. You know.
Yes. Apparently, maybe some of us are muted or something. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
I hear.
I hear you.
No,
What was that,
there's
Mando?
Nos is muted.
What?
Nos is muted.
I just saw
Nos
somebody was
is
like,
I see Nos.
Yeah.
Nas says that Matt and I are muted.
Who? I can hear everyone except for Jacob, who's not talking.
I
Yeah.
can
Talking.
hear everybody.
What do you mean talking? I'm talking.
Oh, there you're talking now. You were silent for a minute.
Am I talking?
Yeah,
Hey,
you're
Gourd.
talking.
How's it going?
It's going wonderful.
Good.
That's so much
It's
I
the
can
season
hear
to
you
eat
there.
your people.
A pumpkin.
Hello.
The pumpkin has been fighting zombies, and
It's true.
it's hard.
I've been
It's hard.
fighting Biden voters and trying to turn people off of pumpkin pie. I'm winning at one of those.
What's up, Matt? How are you doing?
Doing mostly okay. just fighting off my bi-monthly fake heart attack with this shoulder injury I got years ago. Oh, man, it aggravated right before I sat down here. I felt the twinge in my shoulder blade because I have on crutches years ago, and I wrecked my shoulder blade. And like as I'm sitting down, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be 2 days of hell again. It's like. But anyway, other than my shoulder and certain real world problems, if I should disappear off the map, I live right next to a military terminal that could be hit if they have to attack. So if I should just disappear, you know what happened.
Yeah.
Matt is our early warning system.
Yay!
And the Roman is here. How are you, sir?
I am well. Thank you for having me back. It's always fun to do these streams. Why? What the fuck? I'm sorry. Oh, language. Oh God.
Language.
Something happened. What happened?
The spider.
Language.
StreamYards has been weird. StreamYards doesn't like my mic
it's
setup, so I've had to
freaking
switch it
out
up
on
a
me.
few times.
I'm back in my not studio mode. Here we are back in studio mode. I don't know. Something weird's going on. The desk of the Empire. Every time I touch anything, it's like bloop, bloop.
Has the spider laid eggs somewhere in your
It may be back behind the computer where I have all my cables and widgets and things and that. So I was out with Mrs. of the Empire today. We went to lunch. I bought another record, which shouldn't be shocking to anyone because I buy several a week now.
You sound like me in books. It's like I go to a store. It's like, oh, books.
Are you saving that for a stream? The album?
No. It's Weezer's Blue album. They had an exclusive blue and white swirl vinyl. I like the weird, goofy looking vinyl because I'm a dork. So it is what it is.
I don't personally get like the whole. I mean, I get people with vinyl. I like it, but if you ever want something amazing, there's a band called Armored Saint who have the best album covers ever. And go get the vinyls of their albums because, as opposed to the little CD pictures, they're blown up. Like if you love, just Google Armored Saint album covers if you don't know what I'm talking about. If you're a metal fan and a fan of like role playing games and stuff, Armored Saint album covers.
Nothing beats a good.
I've never heard of them, so I'll check them out.
I'm looking at them now. They actually are pretty neat looking.
Yeah, nothing beats a good vinyl old school record cover.
The lead singer.
That's all I buy now.
The lead
exclusively vinyl.
The lead singer of Armored Saint, John Bush, was the one-time lead singer of Anthrax when the other guy left for a while. So,
Jeb Bush, what?
John Bush. Yeah.
But yeah, like even my husband's really big into vinyl.
No,
like,
Jeb would have had so much more street cred.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have to
Let's
ask
say
you
hello
for
to
the
the
clap.
chat.
I guess we
Let's say
should say
hello
hi
to
to the chat
real quick. And Nas here. Kinski is a acquired taste, I guess.
Are you Kins shaming him?
I didn't think that we shamed people for their kinks here. Oopsie.
But what if my kink is to kink shame? Yeah.
Well,
that's one of them. That's one of them
this
paradoxes.
So
that's a whole paradoxes right there.
And Creative Blue is here. What's up, John?
My son.
And the man, the legend, the shoulders, Zax. There's Melvin. What's up, Melvin?
Hello, Melvin.
Melvin.
Yeah, it's always
I think that's
so great to see these guys in the chat. It's awesome.
Heck yeah.
Best part of the show, really.
And speaking of Zach's shoulders, or just shoulders in general, my recent visit to the doctor has told me, hey, so you sit at a desk a lot, don't you? I was like, yes, I sit at a desk a lot. Why are you asking? Well, your shoulders and your neck seem to be very tight and you seem to like hunch over. You need to fix that. Here's the thing. And so like I've been wearing kind of like a thing that's supposed to like make me sit up properly. And so I'm just like, it feels weird.
Did you explain that you reviewed Ahsoka? And that might
I did. I was like, hey, have you seen this show with
Ahsoka? Neck
Ahsoka?
is so tense and your shoulders are hunched because you're like, where's Your damn helmet.
And so I've been trying to like wear the thing. I'm like, whoa, my shoulders like are like so hunched over all the time. I'm just like, okay, let's.
When she told him that that she watched Ahsoka, they were like, okay, fine, we'll add some volume to it. Fine, I get it.
They make a thing called a kneeling chair. If your knees could take it, it forces your shoulders to be over your hips for posture. Like this,
Yeah, I used
like
to.
this, not
We
like
used to
this.
have a kneeling chair. Yeah, it's just my knees can't take it. Unfortunately,
Wait, is that where it looks kind of weird?
Mm-hmm.
Like
kind of put your feet back, like
right?
underneath.
Yeah, I can't do that. My knees are too bad.
Yeah,
but I mean, this thing has been working. So,
you know who had good knees? Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah,
Frankenstein had some great knees.
Dr. Frankenstein made sure to get the best knees he could get.
He even had even better knees in the novel.
Right.
Modeling works.
There's even a line they cut out where he said, "I have the need for knees."
I need the knees.
That was a little painful, Gourd King. A little painful.
It was.
Yay!
Too bad my buttons aren't working today. Otherwise, I'd do the little for that one.
So Frankenstein. James Whale was the director.
He's the one who put this together. Haha, more cringe.
He had a whale of a time putting this movie together.
Yeah, he's done other horror films. He does.
Oh, wait. Where is it?
There it is. It's over there. It's right there.
Sorry, a little late on that one. So Frankenstein.
So he does James Whale. He does Bride of Frankenstein, which is the first sequel to this movie. He does The Old Dark House, which I think is one of my favorite horror films from the 1930s, if I remember the movie correctly. And he does a couple other ones. I know him for his horror stuff, but he goes away from horror, I think, like in the 30s. You know.
Yeah.
Anyone else think this font is a wee bubbly?
I thought so
Frankenstein
too.
font, yes.
Yeah, we
it's like Frankenstein.
It's like who added the Barbie font?
Right.
It needs to be a little more angly.
So you see that guy there?
I was thinking it needs to be like angly or like skinny, like the rest of the font. The rest of the font looks fine. It's just that, like, it looks completely off-putting in comparison to everything else on the title.
It's like, are we getting ready to watch like a black and white Mean Girls kind of thing? What's going on?
Yes.
Oh my god! Did you know that Frankenstein had great knees? Like, oh my god!
So that guy there, Carl Lamel Jr.
Yes.
So those who watched this film, read the book, may notice there's like very little similarity between the book and the movie here, right? So when Dracula came out at the beginning of the year and it made so much money, and Universal said, we got to make more money to get something out there. Lugosi wanted to play Frankenstein. They were trying to make a Frankenstein movie, right? So there were a couple different competing versions, but they wanted something they could copyright. So the guy who got the Rommel is the one that came up with something they could copyright. And there was a play in like the 20s or teens that was an adaptation of Mary Shelley's book, that was a very loose adaptation, right? So, and since Shelley's book was well into the public domain, they took a license of that play and its script. Then they further mixed it with something from, there's another folklore thing, story called The Golem, based on Jewish folklore and the Kabbalah. Mm-hmm. Mixed it with some of those details. Frankenstein looks way more like the Golem than he does actual Frankenstein's creature in the novel, by the way. And then the first guy, once they got that point, then a guy was like, okay, we got a movie. We'll make this thing into a killing machine and have a horror film. And then Lamel came in and said, no. It's like, and then they got this film, which is a much more new. It's a different take than the book, obviously, on terms of the story being told. But this worked as an adaptation, even though it's vastly different. It did kind of work, you know.
Yeah.
Now, in the book, the monster is more able to speak in that, right?
He's fully rational. superhumanly intelligent. There's no like corrupt brain or whatever.
Mhm.
Oh, no,
You know,
Abby normal brain.
Yeah,
I was
no
gonna
Abby
say the
normal.
same
Abby
thing.
normal.
Yeah.
No
And-
Abby cameo. What the heck?
In fact,
Abby Normal was going to join us tonight, but she couldn't make it.
Oh,
Really sad.
in fact, the like so in the book he makes a perfect being, a perfect human being that's 8 feet tall and all that, and when he first sees the creature, it's not called the monster, it's called the creature. He's superhumanly beautiful almost, but something happens upon the moment that Frankenstein imbues him with life, that his eyes turn yellow and his face sort of alters a bit, and he becomes very hideous to behold. Like he looks evil is the way the novels call it, right?
interesting.
And
I'm not gonna lie. This particular shot that you just had, if you go back, just one. I kind of laughed the second time I watched it because you see it's panning across. You see all these people in attendance, and it kind of looks like Death is just sitting there in attendance, like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry I had to take this guy.
Oh, it's time to take this guy.
I'll stand back.
And to keep it simple and straightforward, in the book, Frankenstein is a creature of both bad guys.
He's what?
Oh yeah.
What now?
Well, I'm just commenting on the difference between the book and the movie here. Like in the movie, the monster seems innocent at first, but he does some evil things. Whereas in I'm sorry, not in the book, in the novel, in the movie rather. Whereas in the book, he's pretty much out and out a bad guy from the beginning. He has no sense of morality.
He's less of a sympathetic creature.
Yeah. Well, you can have some sympathies because the novel is it gives how do I put it it gives you a lot of basically from first the captain's perspective from the boat, then Frankenstein's perspective, then the creature's perspective, then back to Frankenstein and then back to the captain, and you can see the monster's point of view and when it's saying stuff, but based on what we know happened, you can't believe it. You know what I mean? And you can see Frankenstein who doesn't tell anyone what he did and gets people killed. You know, and has one moment of moral clarity when the creature wanted to make a bride for himself. He's like, if I do this, it might be a bad idea and it might wipe out humanity. Has one moment of moral clarity, right? But
what are you gonna
do?
Yeah,
humanity. Let me ask, to your knowledge, have they ever attempted an adaptation that's more closely resembling of the actual book? Because I feel like most adaptations follow
Frankenstein.
That's the one with De Niro.
Beard.
That's the one with De Niro, which I hated, by the way.
Yeah.
But
there was a
Hit for Cat was this is very, very far removed, except in like the most basic concepts.
There was a 70s one too, unless that was the one with that you're talking about. It was like 78 or something like that. It was on TV. I just remember my aunt watching it. It was all
Saturday Night Fever. Is that the adaptation?
No.
Wait, are you thinking of Blackenstein there, Shieldwall?
No. Those were exploitation films, Shieldwall.
No.
Was was the De Niro Frankenstein? Was that the one with Helena Bonham Carter and
Kenneth Branagh directed and starred in, and what a mess. But it did stick to the novel more than. Like I said, this has the name of Frankenstein and there's a dead guy in it.
I mean, technically, the Rocky Horror Picture Show is a loose adaptation of this too.
Yeah, that's true.
It's technically, yeah. In this box, I love Henry's voice.
He's just
it's just so bizarre. Yes.
Yeah, this guy is. I love this guy. This is such a great performance.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because a lot of old monster movies, really old movies in general, like have kind of cheesy performances and whatnot. They ham it up really big. This guy's a lot of fun to watch in this movie. And he has such a range in this too. I think people often, make a caricature of this character that he's just this mad scientist. And I'm like, no, there's quite a bit of depth to him.
And he's also a mad scientist?
Yeah, he's also a mad scientist.
He's also a mad scientist.
Another point I want to make, a really good one, when we were talking about the Mummy last week. I don't understand. It's I guess cognitive dissonance. Like, don't get me wrong, I love The Wheel of Time. You can see those big books behind me. There's 600 plus pages each, right? Robert Jordan takes 15 books to tell a story. Mary Shelley in like 150 pages had a complete story. In a 1 hour movie, they had a complete story, right? Like I love John Wick Chapter 3 and 4, but it's 2.5 hours of the like did something must have happened. Like maybe all the radiation that we got exposed to or whatever from Chernobyl and from Fukushima, everything has to be 3 hours long now. Books have to be like 8,000 pages just to tell about I mean, whatever happened to a simple,
The Hobbit
story?
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit.
That's
Lord.
a short. That's a fairly short book, but it has such a thick, a big story in it.
Yeah, and The Hobbit, it takes 9 hours to get there. You feel like you never get back again.
No. Okay. And I'll give one of my criticisms of Peter Jackson's films. Right, The Lord of the Rings is one book even though it's 3 volumes, it's one book that I read really fast, but I can read it inside of a week easily. Right. He put 15 hours of movie, however many hours of movie to tell that story.
About 11. Yeah.
I'm not saying you could. I don't like the extended edition at all, but like you could stretch things out. I'm fine with that. But like the modern storytelling where we got to get as much in there as possible. All right, let's just ram it in there. We don't have to have a side conversation about what color skirt Jill is wearing while she was murdered. Let's just do that for 10 minutes. You know, I just, you could hear it in my voice. It's a frustration. More and more, when I sit down to watch these films, and I'm watching it, I'm like, and you don't even get anything happening until an hour in.
I mean, with Lord of the Rings, I'm not going to complain. I love every second of even the I love the extended versions. Yeah. I think they're great.
Yeah, I was man, I really like the extended.
No, I adore the extended versions, but the deviances from the book show up way more in the extended versions. That's my problem with them. So, yeah.
That's fine. It doesn't have to follow the book for me to love. But regardless, I don't disagree with the overall premise that we're letting movies get way out of hand with their running time.
Movies, books, even music videos are like way too long now. Like a music video has to have a 3-minute dance routine in the middle of it. Now everyone
don't watch that.
No,
I wouldn't know. I don't watch music videos anymore. I stopped watching music videos a long time.
I don't know what that is.
Everything gets padded out now. Everything.
They could have had a Frankenstein dance number in the middle of this.
Yeah.
And it still would have been like.
I'm sure there's a Bollywood version of it that does.
Oh, there probably is.
Probably.
I know there is.
This guy plays Van Helsing in Dracula.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
A lot of the actors are going to show up over and over again in like different roles in all these films because they're all being filmed at the same time, and like sometimes why Boris Karloff couldn't come back as the Mummy, for example, he was filming other horror films. You know what I mean? Or why Lon Chaney could be the Mummy in 3 of them, but not 2 of the 3 are sequels, not all of them. Well, he was playing the Wolfman sometimes, or he shows up and plays in one of the sequels. I think he played Frankenstein in one of the sequels, So these actors, I don't want to say they were enslaved, but they did a lot of movies in a short time period.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a
they were like
this
they were a lot like football players. They traded different companies traded off, and
they signed studio contracts. I mean, I remember if Mickey Rourke there's a lot of biographies about him. I think he wrote a book or 2 about it, and he went into detail about basically you signed as an actor when you were a little kid to a movie company, and they had you working movies, TV shows when they came out, radio shows, plays, making private appearances, and it was just constant work,
That guy liked his beer. The guy under the sheet. I mean, he liked his beer.
This scene right here with all the students in the school.
Yep.
Right. I counted it when all the people come out of the classroom. There's 8 women in there.
Yes, I was noticing that too. I thought that was interesting.
So
progressive.
Yes.
Yes, this is a very progressive school.
But are any of them of color?
No. Well, there's some
Let's
that
not get
like
crazy.
like that guy right there. He could possibly be Middle
He's
Eastern
probably
or
Indian.
something. Yeah, something like that. But
probably Indian.
But baby steps. Baby steps. It's 1931.
That guy looked like a what's his name?
Some students looked old. They were like, my age.
Well,
It's
maybe they were already doctors and they were just like there for a symposium or something.
they just wanted to see Mr. Brain.
Yeah. And then this guy, I was disappointed. His name is like Fritz or something.
Fritz,
right?
Fritz.
Igor comes along like 3 movies later.
But he still had the little cane
Mhm.
that they used. They used in the
Walk this way.
Yeah, that they used in the.
That's all I can think about when I watch Frankenstein now.
Yeah.
Is Young Frankenstein. I compare every scene to Young Frankenstein. I'm looking at Fritz and I'm like, I'm a bit of a genius surgeon. I can take care of that for you. What? Nothing. Never mind.
The hump. Never mind.
What hump?
It's pronounced Igor.
Exactly, John. How dare they learn?
Yeah, they.
And
Guy
by the
is
way,
a scumbag.
Yeah, I was like, this guy. I have a hard time seeing his function in this movie, other than just being a simp for this girl.
Yeah, it's to like, and then this guy's like later on in the movie, he's like, yeah, you got to take care of her. He's like, I'll take care of her.
His name is Victor. This is Victor.
Yeah, I was like, wait,
what the heck?
what?
Bro.
What's his name? Victor? What?
He's an appropriator. Name, lady, everything.
Mhm.
I don't like him.
I don't like him. He's got that thin mustache.
Yes, the pencil mustache.
I mean, the lady. This is quite a nice looking lady. So it's like,
Roman's saying his mustache is out of regulation.
I've got a problem with it, sir.
Yeah, this is Mae Clark. She was pretty popular during this time, and again, she's another actress that was married like 4 times. And so I looked up a bunch of different ones that were in these movies, and it must have been like a virtue signal kind of thing is today, where it's like a fashion thing where everyone wanted to like adopt kids from Africa or something, that they all have to be like divorced 4 or 5 times. Because back then divorce was really looked down upon negatively. In some places you had to go to like Vegas to get a divorce.
Or Haiti.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Like, have you played musical chairs with the husbands? Yeah.
So I have a question here because I never really understood, where did this movie take place?
Yeah, it's supposed to be in Europe somewhere, but none of them have a European accent.
The novel is in Geneva, Switzerland.
That's not where this took place.
Fraulein, it makes you think that it's probably German or something.
I think they do speak German in Switzerland.
Yeah, they do,
don't they? Yeah. It's
Yeah,
one of the languages. They speak Italian and Swiss.
Well, yeah, the Frankenstein family in the novel is like half Italian.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, a spicy cadaver.
Well, I will say this: Northern Italy is a lot different than Southern Italy.
It says, according to Wikipedia, it says the Bavarian Alps.
Well, I don't know where this is, but I don't know where these people just kind of wandered in because no one has
the Universal
same
Studio. This is the Universal Studio stage set version of the Bavarian Alps.
Yes.
Yeah.
It looks like maybe why didn't they just go with like, oh, this is like a New England town or something like that? That would have been a little bit more believable.
Yeah, because Brain Doctor's like the only one who has a German accent. He's the only one. I don't think anyone else has a German accent in this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, most
is that a hairpiece?
They have some British accents. They have just straight up American accents. That the Baron, I don't know where the hell he's.
Yeah,
from,
he's like he worked for Colonel Sanders or something.
He went from chicken to people.
Yep. Yeah, he got this movie because he couldn't do the Foghorn Leghorn impersonation.
Where's Henry? Tell me where Henry is. You wouldn't like him now.
So
he's become a bit of a jackass.
Weirdo.
So in a bit of a strange, Henry Frankenstein, right, is the character's name in the movie, right?
Mhm.
And we know it's Victor Frankenstein from the novel, right? So Victor Moritz, right, the other character, you guys, what the heck is that guy in the film? He's based on Frankenstein's friend Henry Clairval, who the creature eventually murders, but they gave him Victor's name. Remember the cult copyright stuff they were trying to avoid? And they gave him the last name of the maid who wound up getting executed because Frankenstein monster killed Frankenstein's little brother, and they blamed the maid.
Wow.
Frankenstein framed the maid. That's how intelligent he framed the maid for it.
Was it Frau Brücke? No, sorry.
Same thing with Igor. That character was put in. I think it was taken from one of that play that I mentioned. They wanted to make sure this couldn't be that they could copyright this because obviously Frankenstein itself is in the public domain, and they didn't want this being in the public domain.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't make it better, but it makes sense.
No, it makes it it's kind of silly, honestly. It's a little goofy.
It makes
not their choice of the name, but why they did it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, what are you all exactly protecting? Someone can still adapt Frankenstein. They'll just do it the public domain way. Yeah. What are you protecting here?
My thing with this, his lab is in like an abandoned watchtower. And once you see the inside of it, I was like, built this like some kind of crazy.
Isn't it? It's a windmill.
No. The windmill is just where the monster runs to at the end.
Yeah, at the end.
I think actually the father says that he spends all this time at the abandoned windmill.
Yeah, because that's a mistake the writers made. This isn't. They say this is a watchtower. It doesn't look like a windmill to me. Like, look how big it is. Why would it be made out of stone?
Okay, so the lightning reference, why lightning is involved here when it wasn't in the book. The name of the novel is Frankenstein, the Modern Prometheus. Well, Prometheus was a person who stole fire from the gods and gave it to men. Lightning is kind of an analogy for fire from the gods.
Right.
I love this scene in Young Frankenstein. It's like, how did you get to? Never mind.
This is also
how'd you do that?
Some very nice framing with his like pure white uniform there and everything else shadowed.
It is.
Man, I felt his tension in this scene though. So they're getting ready. The storm's coming in. They're getting ready to bring old Sparky to life downstairs. And who shows up? You know, the broad, the dingus who's trying to steal the girl, and
the broad of Frankenstein.
The broad of Frankenstein. And it's like, because poor Henry's like, I'm almost there. It's almost time. I can feel it. Knock, knock, knock. Oh, who could that be? Why now of all the time? He's got his ham radio tuning into the storm.
If you go back, look at that. He's DJing.
I was thinking he's live streaming the reverse.
He's dropping the sick beats.
Listen to his heartbeat.
Yes.
It does. It totally looks like he's doing mixing some tunes.
MC Frankenstein.
Yep.
Oh, Fritz.
It's like, look, it's a beautiful hand. Don't you love this hand? It's so beautiful.
And
it's perfect.
This lab he has is the core inspiration for like every mad scientist lab setup you'll see. Anything since.
Well, they took the dialogue from this. And I don't know if this is the dialogue from the novel because I don't remember. You don't no blood, no decay, just a few sutures. And they played that at the beginning of Young Frankenstein when they go into the lab for the first time. You hear all that same dialogue that he does right now. And it's a nice throwback to this scene, which is probably my favorite scene.
They also use the scene where he brings it to life in Weird Science. It's alive.
Yeah.
It's alive.
Well, the way he does it is a little freaky in this, though. He has a moment.
He goes.
I think it's fantastic. I think there's a reason that reminds me of
look at the interior of this tower. How those look at that. What just like what kind of
built that?
Yeah, exactly. That's why it kind of fits with like a mad scientist lair, And at what point does something become go from like just a place to a lair? Like, what evil or whatever? What's the threshold for it? Now it's not just this guy's house; it's his lair.
Yeah, it's quite so.
That's where he does his beats,
Well,
man.
That's an interesting.
This was a man cave before.
Well,
man
the
cave.
reason I asked it is because you remember the old Jeff Goldblum movie, The Fly.
Yeah.
So like as he turns into the Fly, eventually he like steals his girlfriend and takes her back to his place, and somehow in my mind it flipped to his lair, and I was like, all right. So before he was a bug guy, he was just a dude, but now he's a bug dude. It became his lair.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, just stuff that nerds.
Ladies, ultimately, that's what this guys want to do. Is we want to bring you back to our life.
After you watch that movie, you'll never think of donuts the same way again.
Donuts.
It's like, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here.
It's Beard saying the ceiling height determines the lair status.
Yeah.
Oh my!
Does it have vaulted ceilings? It's a lair.
And
No, Batman lives in a cave.
A cave can be a lair.
Yes, that is a major layer there.
it's interesting, like his lair, his whatever you watch, it looks so menacing and dark and evil. But Henry himself is not portrayed that way in the film. He's maybe misguided, maybe driven, but not
a little bit of a goofball.
Yeah.
You think I'm mad, do you? Well,
No,
watch this as I bring the dead back.
You actually look like you're
I'm
on
mad?
speed, okay? He might even be on something to keep him awake. That might be why he's crazy.
He has almost no earlobes.
Wow. Maybe he gave some to his monster.
Yeah.
His monster was missing.
Look at the
just
size of his
thing.
earlobes. They're giant. You can hang things here.
In some cultures, having a big earlobe means that you're wealthy, or you're destined to be wealthy. The fatter your earlobe
I have big earlobes. So
I have little ears. I have tiny ears. No wonder I'm poor.
You're a pumpkin.
I know.
We had ears at all.
I mean, we own a Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah. Yep, there you go. You're Mr. Oh no, pumpkin head. Do you think Ichabod, or not Ichabod Crane, but the Headless Horseman put ears on his pumpkin?
If he had time, he would have. He wasn't thinking about it enough.
He was.
If he had wanted to look super stylish, and rich, and
he just didn't have any eyes. He couldn't see.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you've ever been to New England in the fall, and at night, you'll know how creepy it really is there.
It's not just at night. It's creepy all the time in New England.
Oh, especially these days, yes.
That's probably one of top.
Mando, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just tired.
It's all the rum. Why is the rum always gone?
The Headless Horseman is probably my favorite Halloween story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
It's a good American story.
It's like, what are you doing here?
I love how after this scene, it's just like, yeah, this is completely normal and everyone's fine.
Yeah,
it's where do we go from here? I think it's almost strange how quick this happens. It's just 10, 15 minutes in the movie. Okay, he's raised this thing from the dead. It's like, oh, yeah. All right. Well,
that's what I was saying earlier. Like you guys, you young folk out there are so used to these like magnum opuses, 4-hour, things that where it takes forever anything to happen. And this movie happened so fast. Or the Mummy, just so
all
fast.
of them.
Yeah.
All
that was like that relationship in the Mummy. He's like, "Hey, girl, I just met you. Let's get married."
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I like how he tells them all that they have to be seated, and then he talks to them for like a minute, and he's like, "Okay, get up and come over here."
And
like,
that was why. I don't know if they did this on purpose or from the play or whatever, but that was why in the novel. He's an evil mofo. He didn't tell anyone what he was doing, and it got them all killed. Even when he finally tells someone about it, a cop or whatever, the cop thinks he's a lunatic. You know, like I've resurrected this guy from the dead. He's 8 feet tall and hideous, and he's killing everyone. You know.
I mean, realistically, he
Sure,
probably
the
couldn't have
hospital
told.
is that way.
Like, okay. Next thing you're going to tell me
Well,
you
he
have a
was.
layer.
They did that to him. They institutionalized him several times in the novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that on the same level as someone that wants entry into your secret anti-zombie lair that's bitten but doesn't tell anybody?
Oh yeah.
You know, in
Mm.
every
Oh,
movie, that's
man.
how it
Those
always
guys.
collapses. Yeah.
This
Oh,
looks
it's
really
just a
good.
scratch.
I thought this looked really nice.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
look of the monster with the bandages and everything. It was really solid for its time. That's
yeah.
that scene is just it looks really cool.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, this is the first of the major set pieces, and probably, and I don't even think probably, it is the best one. Definitely, it still holds up pretty well.
So in the book, they need the lightning for the electricity, correct?
Not really. It's a chemical thing.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary Shelley doesn't go greatly into how he actually brings him back from the dead, so to speak. Or it's not bringing him back from the dead. It's more like the biblical concept of God grants the
Yeah.
breath of life, and so Frankenstein finds a way to do that himself.
Mhm.
You know, and it's. But she doesn't go greatly into detail as to how the process occurs. You know,
Right. Because I was just, I mean, obviously they need a mass amount of electricity. But when the book was written, like electricity was only like a novelty thing you made with like grape juice in a jar or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like you had generators and engines and all this other stuff. It was,
Yeah,
you
and
could
this
make
is-
electricity, but you could do
this
it
is-
chemically.
written just after Ben Franklin had been doing his experiments. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Because in this movie, I was like, okay, well, he must have a whole bunch of generators underground or something, because where's he getting electricity for the machines? You know?
Yeah. Can y'all hear that?
Hear what?
Can't hear it?
Nope.
No, I'm playing the It's Alive thing.
Oh,
I see it. I hear nothing.
Well,
But it's not even playing yet.
Oh. Yeah, because he like loses his bits here.
Like it's moving.
I will bring it back.
Do it again.
It's alive.
I still think it's funny how like stiff he is, but he's able to move around better than I am. Like after I've woken up from an 8-hour like sleep,
Oh.
I'm just like, oh, I can't do this. And he's just like jumping around. I'm like,
They
more
didn't.
mobile than I
They didn't. They
am.
didn't need to. They didn't need to burn down a windmill to stop Frankenstein's monster. They just need to have him stream Ahsoka for a little while, and he's like, "Oh, I can't move."
So, and in the book, when the creature awakens, that's when his face goes from like beautiful to hideous, and he kind of makes eye contact with Frankenstein, and then Frankenstein runs away, whatever, and the monster disappears, like just disappears. And then, funny enough, young Frankenstein has a more accurate adaptation of what happens to the monster, at least the early part, than this movie does. It's like, remember young Frankenstein when he was with the old guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
This guy, look at his getup here.
I know he's got the smoking
Like a robe, a
jacket with
suit,
his
a bow
like
tie, a fez.
I
long
don't know what
pipe.
hat that is. It's like
Probably
his,
got some whiskey somewhere.
I
Yeah.
think
Probably.
this guy just pulled his wardrobe from the Lost and Found. My
Probably.
gosh.
Or he just stepped out of a TARDIS.
yeah,
Also
yeah.
possible.
And he's got his like hash pipe or whatever that is.
But
That's what it looks like.
again, I know it's 1931, but he's supposed to be this German baron, and you don't really get that from the guy playing the part. It just doesn't come across as German baron. Oh, the Burgermeister, German. He's the second German person in the movie.
That's why I was
Dr.
thinking this was taking place in Germany. I was like, oh, a Burgermeister, yeah, German.
Yeah, but then
it's like
but
between Germany
Henry
and
and Trudy or whatever her name is, and Victor and the Baron are all just so not German.
They're not even pretending.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Burgermeister. Is that the Burger King over there in Germany?
Burgermeister.
Burgermeister.
Look at those eyebrows. Those are impressive.
Ooh. Yeah.
Those are some German eyebrows for sure.
Right. Those eyebrows have a P.O. box or something of their own.
So now are they going out? Or oh God, it's all. Yeah, they're going to see Henry now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah, the doctor's just been hanging out with him all this time, however long it's been. I don't really even know.
Right, because
since they brought the monster to life.
Right, they've been keeping the monster in a dark room to let its brain kind of mature and get used to being in the body. So this guy, I think the doctor is horrified by what he's done, but also interested, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's doing laundry up there? Is there a shower up there? I need to know about the facilities. Are they ordering in?
Exactly.
I would think Fritz. Yeah. I would think Fritz takes care of it.
He's got a. He has
Fritz is a weird little dude.
He's got a sous chef.
A little jerk, to be honest.
He is. He's a jackass.
Fritz sets the whole thing off in the movie.
Yeah,
it's all his fault. Everything is his fault.
Although
he puts the whole experiment on the Fritz.
Yeah. Although when we get to the scene, I'll talk about. As my one flaw in the movie, but one of the flaws, I guess, when we get to it.
Well, also when we get to that, I think I can speculate on the motivation of the Fritz as to why he acts the way he does.
I think I think he sees the monster as something that's finally lesser than himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's always tormented for being a hunchback and whatever, and now he gets to torment somebody else and kind of be in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't work out too well for him.
No, it doesn't. The Fritz.
Yeah, I like this part here where he's like, haven't you ever wondered what's beyond the stars? And so does this long speech about exploring and
basically how he could discover like one of the great mysteries that he wouldn't care if people thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, and he backs into the room. It's an interesting way to do this, to introduce the monster to the audience in 1931.
Look, Dad, I have eyes in the back of my head. He definitely looks like he's been watching Ahsoka.
They really knew how to do the makeup.
That's the look that I had when I was like, oh my god.
That's the face.
This is
of what
actually
Disney Star Wars will do.
The day they invented Sour Patch Kids.
Oh, poor fella.
Can you speak?
Not so much.
Maybe he was speaking German.
They really knew how to do the makeup back then.
Yeah, the makeup's great.
Oh, no, he looks great. Yeah, Boris Karloff looks amazing.
Basically looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger about 40 or 50 years before Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Also German. No, Austrian. I'm sorry. Same thing.
Close enough.
The veins in his arm too.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Just reaching for the light. It's the monster is very tragic in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just seems like he never gets a chance for to do anything, and then you get effing Fritz here coming in and being a jerk,
Mm-hmm.
and the doctor doesn't really admonish him for it. He just kind of like, no, Fritz, don't be so mean to him.
Don't do it.
No, Fritz. Hashtag stop bullying.
Didn't he? Doesn't he
Stop monster
come
hate.
in the room for no reason with a torch?
He was
Like-
a little odd. Isn't this place lit?
Yeah,
I
like
think it
that.
is.
I like all these various. Like you can go to each frame, and he's got a different funny hand gesture.
Yeah.
Well, remember, these actors came up in the silent films, so they had to
Oh, yeah,
convey
yeah.
stuff without being able to
Very
talk.
physically.
So
Yeah.
obviously, they borrowed from us Italian folk with the hand gestures, but you know, they had to know how to, with makeup, with the way they framing scenes and all hand gestures to convey
He's dabbing.
just with the voices, you know. Someone playing the drums.
I think this is when they shove him in that little room.
Yeah.
His his room, Frank's room. The monster's room. Oh yeah, and then they chain him up, and then Fritz torments him more with the torch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at this
then-
point, I was like, Fritz needs to go.
I think Fritz needs to
Right?
be chained up.
Yeah.
Fritz is literally playing with fire.
That's a good one, Beard. That's a good one.
Yeah, I felt bad for the monster for most of the movie, honestly, because he doesn't know what's going on. He's just kind of suddenly there, and he's getting
exists.
abused immediately. He has
He's
some kind
he's
of rudimentary
a toddler
understanding
in
of
an
things.
adult's body. I mean,
Yeah.
you think about it, it's kind of a toddler, basically.
And
some,
there's Fritz hanging from something.
Good,
Well, remember, he has a defective brain too.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, it was
Like,
a
you
criminal
play with
brain.
fire,
I mean,
you get killed by the monster.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to know how exactly he did the hanging thing, but
you find a way. If it's important, you find a way.
Yeah.
Life
Where- who gave him a
Finds
rope,
a way.
or was it with a chain?
Well, now the doctor's like, "Oh, what have I done? What have I done?"
I'm
Like,
spoken
bro.
with fire now.
Book,
Yeah,
book.
this
Book.
worked so good for Fritz. Yeah, you also don't get a sense of how strong he is in this, because I mean,
Yeah.
he should have been throwing Henry around like a rag doll, and he
Right?
really doesn't.
Yeah.
He seems stronger, but not as strong as I think he's supposed to be. But
I don't necessarily mind that, because you can be capable of great strength and still not know how to utilize it, especially
accepted.
a younger person.
Right.
Yeah.
So not necessarily like having atrophy or anything, but like just not knowing how to engage your muscles properly. Like kind of like watching, like in The Sandlot, where he tries to throw the ball, but he doesn't know how, so it looks really terrible because he doesn't know how to engage his muscles. It's like I could buy that with this monster, maybe not knowing how to engage his muscles right. It's like, that's fine. I'm all right with that.
Yeah. So he gets pretty injured by the monster.
Poor guy. He's like, he
Oh.
got away.
Oh, and whatever the girl's name is, her line here irritated me. I'm V-chipping myself for Jacob's sake. She's like, "Oh, Henry, what have they done to you? What have they done to you?" It's like, lady,
Hey?
your mad
what?
scientist boyfriend brought the dead back to life, and you're wondering what they did to him.
Why is she saying they? There's only one. It's the
I
monster.
don't know. Don't
Like, what?
know.
Wait a minute. Is Frankenstein
What have they done to my
Is
boy?
Frankenstein use they them pronouns? What?
Yeah.
What?
So progressive for the 1930s.
Oh my gosh.
She
Well,
actually
this
doesn't
was-
The
know his
monster is gender
pronouns.
fluid.
So she
This
said
was
they.
They must have an enormous Von Stucker. Oh, yeah. This doc, I'm not sure what their goal was here. Obviously, they wanted to destroy the monster, but brother took his time. Brain Doctor did not move very fast.
Well, also, like, how did he not feel his arm coming up behind him?
Yeah, it was. What it was just this was a weird scene. I didn't. If you're going to destroy the monster,
I think Frankenstein should have just reached around and goosed him. I think that would have been great.
Whoa!
Oh, what the?
It's just
like, cutting into me, Doc.
I'm going to cut his heart out.
Here, my biggest thing with this is, okay, so you've been shooting him up to keep him with sedatives to keep him docile, and you're planning on
give. Sorry.
You plan on killing him or whatever, right?
Sedative? What?
Disposing of him. Right. But you're not going to restrain him. You already know that he's super strong and he's already tried to kill people and stuff. When they were going to bring him to life, they had him in restraints. So why don't you put him in restraints then?
Yeah.
Again, this was
a bit convenient.
This is the classic horror movie thing where they have to make somebody incredibly stupid in order to move the plot along. Yeah. They do it in every movie, it seems like. Sometimes it's appropriate, it's like two young people engaged in some kind of activity that they probably shouldn't be doing. That always attracts the serial killer. But in this case, these people should be smart.
Yeah,
they're not. At least the doctor should anyway.
Let's go for a walk in the foggy woods. Oh yeah.
The lighting here looks really good. Again, the some of the scenes the look of it is cool. Him coming down the stairs there, and this just looks really neat.
His hands kind of look rubbery there for a second.
A little bit, yeah. Just letting them go all over the place.
Yeah, just letting them flop. Well, that lack of control that you were talking about. I think he was doing maybe a display of that.
Who do you think has better shoulder game, the monster or Zax?
Ooh. Zax has better control. I will give you
yes.
I wonder if Karloff is channeling how a gorilla kind of moves when it walks, with the arms flopping around.
Yeah, it does look a lot like that. I always thought this is kind of a trope in movies too, where you have the man recovering in this really nice setting, and the woman that's like, you see this in Casino Royale, for example. I mean, there's a lot of movies.
That's because what can I do? Oh, never mind.
And this kind of happened in the novel, except he didn't tell anyone about the monsters going around killing people, and he's recovering from his mental. The novel kind of indicates that he must have been mentally ill beforehand because of the way he constantly loses it, and this is his third or fourth cousin who his father adopted when they were 12, so they fell in love at first sight.
Third or fourth cousin? It's totally good back then.
Yeah.
But he said adopted, so.
Yeah.
Well, no, Henry. What was Victor's father's name? His brother's brother, whatever, one of those relationships. But and the strangest thing in the world, the creature literally tells Frankenstein after Frankenstein wouldn't make a bride for him, "I'll see you on your wedding night." And Frankenstein doesn't tell anyone, goes to the wedding night.
Doesn't have a gun or anything. Just
dude.
This scene was funny. So they're doing their toast, and then he turns to the I guess the head butler, and he's like, "Give the servants champagne. This is wasted on them." It's like you're such a jerk.
He might be my favorite character. He's got great dialogue. He almost borders on feeling completely out of place in this movie.
And then
they're acting like, "I've never had champagne."
They make him do a toast, and then they're like, "Okay, put it back." It's like, nah, at least let him, chug it. real quick.
Thank you for giving us liquor. Now off with you.
I actually don't like champagne. It's got a
Neither do I.
It depends on the brand for me. I like this room though. Look at it's got the chandelier with the,
So
the
here's
swords and stuff all over the place.
Here's a little real world anecdote for you guys. It's hard to appreciate how big the wine cellars that even like poor people had in Europe. So my grandfather, when he went into World War II, his whole company was a scouting company. And so his platoon and the other platoons would be advancing, scouting, working with paths for the larger armies to follow, right? And at one point, my grandfather's platoon started finding every wine cellar they could after they cleared an area and getting just handing the booze out. And the general or the colonel, I forget which one, gave an order, wherever they say to go, we're taking an alternate route. That literally was an order that was given. But my grandma was like, every house had a wine cellar. Even like the little cottages had like a nook in the basement or whatever with like 15 bottles of wine sitting there. Some of them were like
they made their own wine too. You know.
Yeah. Well, that I know. We did that too back in the old neighborhood. But
yeah,
he said it was just insane how there was wine cellars everywhere. It's like,
So this is like Oktoberfest. So I went to one of these a couple weeks ago. Big pretzels. That's the key. Is the big pretzel.
Yes.
That might have saved this instance. In fact, if they had the big pretzel, they could have lured the monster out with it. But they chose not to. There was no big pretzel present.
Yeah, it's just
beer
and lederhosen.
Hey, if I was the monster, the beer would draw me out. Okay. So.
Beer.
Poor fella, he's getting all tangled up in a shrubbery.
So
this cat looks pissed off in the scene, by the way.
I agree. I noticed that the second time watching this. I was like, this cat's not happy.
The cat did not want to be there. Is it a real cat? I think it is, and it looks pissed.
This scene is my big problem with this movie.
The poor cat. He's just get me out.
She clearly wants to know why.
You got Greta Thunberg and a cat.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why the monster killed her, because it looked like Greta Thunberg. But
Gourd does not concern himself with the opinion of a potato.
So the monster has been portrayed so far as misguided, kind of clunky, maybe a little stupid, right? But then he out and out murders the little girl. Like there's no even in between.
I don't think he meant to.
I don't think
either.
He was just throwing stuff, and he
saw
thought
her
okay,
like a flower.
And then he tries to save her. He does try to save her.
You're pretty, like a flower. I'm gonna throw you in the water. Ha!
Like if he had done it by accident, by like hits her and she falls in or whatever. But they had to make him kill someone pretty obviously to make justifying what they did at the end in the film.
I guess, but I
don't think they necessarily try to justify the action so much as make it understandable why they want to, because they don't know his motive. I think it's pretty clear it's an accident, because like I said, he's actually trying to rescue the girl, and then he gets scared and he runs.
He gets scared like a child.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't really get what he's doing.
I think he throws her in because he's like, oh, the flowers float.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he doesn't really, she'll float
They
too.
all float.
And it really is her father's
Everything
fault for not
floats.
teaching her to swim earlier. So
Yeah, I blame the dad.
yeah.
That was a bad dad.
What I'm getting is to have him kill a child, right? Like to make him evil, like to make it something killable at the end. Like if he actually kills an adult or whatever, you could say, well, the adult maybe misunderstood it was, or whatever. But and egged him on. You know what I mean?
I think because obviously he had already killed 2 adults at this point, and I think because at that point you're like, and they're you're like, oh, okay, well, these are misunderstandings. But when he kills a kid, I think what they're going for is not necessarily, oh, he's evil. It's more just he's too dangerous to be allowed to keep going.
Right? Yeah.
He doesn't understand how dangerous he is. So
because he doesn't look evil here. He looks afraid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've done something wrong. I don't quite understand it.
Yeah.
And he's that, and that's why I find that the monster very tragic, because he's like a simple person. He just doesn't understand.
Oh yeah, it's certainly a tragedy. There's no,
I'm sorry. Is that a man?
Which?
Yes.
Right here.
There's an Adam's apple there, so I think
like
so.
a man. He's got big arms.
And
like, wow.
Conversely, my least favorite scene in the movie leads to one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which is the father carrying his little girl in the way the townsfolk react.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the slow march through and everything starts to stop. Yeah. Except I would not stop eating my big pretzel. I'm eating that big.
Was
pretzel.
that guy wearing a sombrero?
It kind of looks like it, but I think
maybe they were vacationing from Mexico.
Wherever they shot this, it was the real melting pot.
Yeah. It had to be. It had.
Well,
to
the
be.
guy in the back has a cowboy hat on. Look at the back. The guy in the right back.
Wait, did they film this in South America somewhere or something? Yeah. Germans in cowboy hats.
Well, I don't know if South America had a very big German population in 1931.
Not yet.
You need to give it about 15 years.
Yeah.
Although several Germans migrated to Mexico in the 1800s, the most famous was Linda Ronstadt's great grandfather. People don't know that Linda Ronstadt's a Mexican, the singer. She has a German name, but her family moved to Mexico. So
yeah.
Really, which scene? The part with them dancing? Oh, the girl being tossed in a lake scene.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, this is pre-code, so I'm surprised it's not a little more like racy and graphic, honestly.
Yeah, and nowadays Frankenstein would have taken the little girl and beat her to death on the edge of the water.
Yeah.
At least she wasn't skipping rocks, He'd try to skip her across the water.
They'd Ryan Johnson it. He'd hold her in the front and then just toss her over his shoulder.
And remember, one of the producers before Lamella got handled wanted to make the monster like a mass murdering psychopath. So,
yeah,
it would have been like Alien, but with Frankenstein.
Hi, Mrs. Sassy.
Hey, Miss Sassy. And Red Glitch. I don't think I said hello to you. It's like, what's happening? Oh,
I'm getting married. Oh my gosh.
For the 5th time. Oh.
Yeah, she had that like 1920s.
And she did a lot of movies. She did like 40 or 50
Yeah,
movies.
I looked her up. She did a bunch.
Yeah.
She lived in a hotel in Hawaii for like the last 30 years of her life.
Which did she do more, movies or men?
Movies.
Okay.
But
are you sure? I don't know.
I mean, at least she was married to him,
I mean, at least 4 of them.
Yeah.
At least.
She literally has a marital Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, she never had any children.
Wow.
She's like, don't leave me. And he locks her in. It's like, what?
Yeah, I saw that too.
Don't leave me behind.
I was like, well, he really knows how to treat a woman on her wedding day. Just going to lock her in this room.
Based.
Yeah. Everyone's like, just based.
I know how to treat a woman. You throw her in a room and lock the door and run away.
This is my wedding gift to you.
I was also very surprised.
On our wedding day, I'm going to throw you in a room, lock the door, and run away.
How
quickly.
big the Frankenstein monster is, and he just climbs to the window. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, didn't. And
then Frankenstein just like, "Hey, you're a pretty lady and you're lonely. Hi," and she's just going, "Ah."
Here to take a swim.
So in the novel, after Genius doesn't tell anyone about the creature, he gets to his wedding night and goes downstairs or something like that. Comes back and finds his wife's neck snapped.
Well,
that's not fun,
right? A little rough.
Kind of a downer.
Yeah.
A little bit.
She wasn't right for you.
Yep, she's got
the
dramatic, like silent film draped across the bed kind of thing.
Their search was kind of wonky though, too. They're like, it's like, do you guys not actually hear where the sounds are coming from? Oh yeah, this is the scene though.
Yeah.
Her dad was an odd looking little fellow though.
Yeah,
he's peculiar looking.
Basically,
irregular.
The way they found unconscious on the bed. He found her dead on the bed.
Her dad
But
does
again,
he's got some nice biceps though. He's been doing some curls.
I like how all the people that are looking out the window just brought their beer with them. Yeah.
Well,
They
goes
have
without
their
saying.
priorities.
Yep.
It's free.
You
But
can't
you
let
just
the
leave it
flies get in the beer.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Baron paid for all the beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because that's what a good Baron does.
Quentin.
What has happened? What is going on?
What is happening?
Everybody finish a drink, then we find the girl.
There are a lot of conclusions jumped to here, though.
Yeah, mobs never do that.
Well, the little girl drowned. The little girl who doesn't know how to swim drowned in the pond that's right next to your house. There are a myriad of ways this could have happened.
How did he was out checking his traps or whatever. How did because that's what he said he had to do before they went to the party in town. And so how does he know that the monster did it?
Right? That was my question. I was like, wait, how do you even know that she was murdered? Like, she could have just easily fallen in.
Yeah. Ratted him out. I don't know.
They are looking for a cat. It's a tabby.
Maybe he saw his footprints. Maybe footprints.
And, like in the novel, everyone the monster kills, they find like these handprints on its neck that he knows who did it, but no one else does. Yeah.
Oh, they're like extremely large.
Well, they're big guys' handprints, but they're obviously a big man's handprint, but no one knows like what he made, and of course, doesn't tell anyone. So I keep saying it again and again, but that's a character flaw he has. I'm not saying it's a bad part of the novel. Like I said, Shelley does not pull any punches when it comes to horror or the monster's nature, the creature's nature.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed there weren't pitchforks.
No pitchforks.
And there's another big flaw with this mob, and I don't know if it's because it was in Europe, supposedly, or what. But even
Europe's a flaw.
Yeah, well, there's not one gun amongst any of these people.
I agree.
Not a shotgun, not a hunting rifle, or a shotgun, or musket. Yeah, from what I knew of.
If someone had been trailing the crowd like in a tank, that would have been so much better.
But like Bavaria, and they hunted and stuff. They would have had like hunting shotguns and blunderbusses and whatever.
Mm-hmm. At least.
Yeah, they might not be all like they might like be packing like your average American, but they would have had it, Especially people that lived in the woods or out in the mountains.
Yeah.
Hands up, don't shoot.
Oh, man, you beat me to it. I was about to say it. Frankenstein lives matter. It's like
monster lives matter.
Oh, he got me. He took a beating off camera. He doesn't even, we don't even get to see it. Point to where he is.
So look at how rough this terrain is, right? It's like way up in the mountains and stuff. And then Henry gets lost, so they're looking for him. And then he finally meets up with the
yes.
Yay.
You're just now figuring that out, Beard.
he meets up with the Frankenstein monster, and it like basically kidnaps him or whatever.
He's like, Dad, hello. I know you tried to kill me, but hello, come here.
They do a real nice shot with these outside scenes. They do a real nice shot, like framing the background, sky, whatever.
They all look like a Dante's Inferno painting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Or something like that. So here's my thing. You're in these mountains and it's all rugged and stuff. Who would have a windmill up here?
These are all good questions.
Yeah.
They actually would be. There'd be very high winds up there.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, but gosh, imagine building, getting the stuff up there to build it.
Also to taking the grain up there or whatever it was that you were going to grind up. But maybe there's a road that we don't see on the backside.
That's what peasants and horses are for.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that's why we have Matt on these
Oh,
streams.
the video
to
is
bring up
lagging. Video's
stuff
lagging.
like that.
Are we lagging?
It's not
I
lagging.
don't-
I have
No,
the
I don't think so.
I have the feed on my screen. It doesn't look like it's lagging.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's
Oh,
lagging to me.
I can't hear a single thing you're saying. That's what
Hmm.
Beard says it's fine for him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's because of like the connection with the Mummy and my favorite Doctor Who episode, but all these like Universal sets from the 30s remind me of like 1970s Doctor Who. All of them.
Yeah, I can see that. It's got that, that the manufactured look, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
And very atmospheric, you know what I mean? Like they could a lot of atmospherics.
So when the monster went in, took Henry Frankenstein in, the door closes, right? And I can't remember if he tried to lock it or it just kind of like a big giant log fell on it.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And blocked the door and then something. But again, that got me thinking, was like, that would be a really great way to lock your door so that no one could ever get in. But just a big giant wedge, behind it, so that no matter, you know what I mean? Even if they bust the door down, it's still going to be there in the way. But just how that's, his plot armor helped them or whatever.
I love this particular like imagery. All the peasants looking up at the wooden with the visuals of it.
Yeah. And they're like,
things go really quick from here.
Yeah, it does.
And look at Carlo's facial expressions, man. What gold.
Yeah, the little, I did read that little girl. They were afraid they were afraid she was going to be scared of Carlisle in the monster suit. But as soon as she sees him, she runs up to him when he's in the monster suit and asks if she can ride with him. So she rides in the car with Carlisle as the monster.
That's hilarious.
Very nice.
I love like when he tosses them off. How
and he hits
very obviously a ragdoll.
He hits the windmill.
It's so. I mean, it's very much of its time, but it's so funny looking.
Yeah, it's not scary in the least. It's just
It's like he snapped him in half when that happened. It's
like I'm pretty sure that still would have.
Yeah, I was like, this dude is dead.
His stomach would have ruptured, and he would have killed him.
Yeah, it's like that.
Drop him down.
Done.
Throw him out.
It's like he might have even been better off if he had just landed flat on the ground.
That hurts.
Ooh. He might have.
He should. His spine would have just split in half.
Things that are not.
I hate to be gross about it, but that impact pressure on his stomach would have forced material out of both ends.
Yeah. Oh, Father!
Frank out one side,
I killed you.
Stein out the other.
Daisy.
And in the book, Victor Frankenstein died, and the monster claimed it was going to commit suicide, but just disappeared.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, like in Van Helsing, got that right then, that movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And it leads. So, one of my favorite found footage movies ever. It's called The Frankenstein Theory, and it's a kind of sequel to the book. And so what happens at the end of the book is the monster just keeps killing like Frankenstein's friends and family or whatever. So eventually Frankenstein starts pursuing it, right? And he pursues it into the Arctic, okay? But he's dying. He's sick. He's physically ill. The monster has superhuman endurance. He's sort of catching up with it. Just as he's about to get there, the monster goes out on the ice because it could survive out there. And the ice is breaking up. And the captain rescues Victor off of his iceberg. And the monster is seemingly gone, and he tells the whole story to the captain. And if you ever read The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, it's kind of like how the mariner has to tell his tale to be absolved of his sins, you know. And at the end, the monster returns, and this is what you don't know. Like that's why I kind of love what Mary Shelley did with these characters. Is you never can know if the monster's telling you the truth or not, and it comes back and says, like after I didn't want him to die. After I just didn't want to be alone. I'm kind of paraphrasing here. And after he died, I was like, oh my god, the horror, and now I have to go disappear. I promise I'll burn myself to death, and and then you just have him disappear into the Arctic, right? So in the movie I was talking about, the Frankenstein theory, the descendant, his spiel is that Mary Shelley wrote a fictionalized account of his ancestors' actual creation of a Frankenstein, so to speak, a Frankenstein creature. And he goes, and the creature in the novel disappeared into the Arctic, right? So he's trying to track it down. He thinks he has a way to do it. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's very well done. It's an interesting concept of it managed to explore the same sort of issues the novel does of, how like there's no real immoral protagonist in this sort of story she structured. Whereas here you kind of got obvious good guys. In her story, it wasn't so obvious. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't believe the monster, even though it's rationally it made sense. But Frankenstein did so many stupid and what comes out to it, selfishly evil things in the accomplishment of his goals, and he gets people killed. And it's a great kind of like moral play, like when Frankenstein, like in the middle of the segment, Victor relates to the captain, like the monster catches up with him and says, I'm going to tell you what happened to me after I left the lab you made me in, right? And he tells a story, like, remember I said young Frankenstein got something right? Well, he eventually goes to this hut that's right next to another hut, and there's an old man living there, a blind old man living there with his son and daughter, okay? And they have a whole story of their own, which is pretty interesting. But he learns language by watching them interact. He learns to read from the books they have and all that sort of stuff. And the story the monster tells, like I thought since he's blind, he won't see the hideousness of my face, and if he gets to me as a person, he'll give me a chance, right? And so that kind of goes on with the monster telling his version of the story. But just as he's making friends with the old man, the kids come back and they attack him, and then he has to run away. And but you don't know if the monster's telling the truth, which is the great thing about it. You know what I mean? That's when you can get a writer who put together a story like that, who makes it's and I've hard to explain it, but like the interplay between Frankenstein and his creature, and where both are clearly doing bad things, and you have to kind of say, well, which one's the good guy? Which one? Who do you side with? Can you side with anyone in this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes no one's the good guy.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's the lesser of two evils.
Except
I thought that. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, except the Baron in that last scene.
Oh,
the son's on his bed, and the maids come up and they're like, "We brought this bottle of wine, the special one from the cellar, and maybe we thought he could use it." And he's like, "Oh, good idea." And he pours the cup and he goes taking it. And he's like, "Oh, on second thought, nah, but I'll drink it." So yeah,
like a man just went through a life-threatening event. Like I think he deserves a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Corey?
Yeah, well, and I think this was something of a film of its age, though, where you had it's a bit of the happy ending kind of thing, because there isn't really a tragic ending in this. The tragic ending is what happens to the monster.
Mm-hmm.
That scene in the windmill on fire and him scrambling on the floor, terrified, again is tragic. And then we go back to not Victor Henry, who should by all means be dead, and his wife, who should have been killed by the monster. She should have been killed. Henry should have been killed in the windmill. But no, everybody's fine. Now we're having a toast with me and the maids.
And this movie and kind of its general story and the way the Frankenstein's monster looks pretty much form the basis of like every succeeding, whether the Hammer films or the Toho Kaiju films with Giant Frankenstein or anything else. I think there were some TV movies, and then the only one that's just more distinctly different, like we were talking before, Roman, the De Niro one, that's closer to the novel than most else. I'm sure there's got to be some other closer to novel ones out there, probably some BBC 2-hour movie or whatever that I had never heard of. But and again, to go back to the beginning, one of the saving graces of any flaws you can find in this film, it's an hour and 5 minutes long.
It's so short.
Yeah. Like even if
you can watch,
even if you think like, oh my God, there's like one horrible scene. Well, you only have to deal with it for 27 seconds. It's so short.
Yeah, you can literally watch all the Universal horror films in a night.
Yeah.
All the major hitters you could knock out in an evening.
How long is the Creature from the Black Lagoon? Is that about the same time?
Tell you in
I always forget about the Creature.
The Creature.
I got like
hour
the big
19.
three.
Hour 19.
Hour 19. Yeah. That's a long one. That's the long one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's basically an hour TV show with a whole bunch of commercials.
Yeah. The Wolfman is only an hour 10.
Yeah, that's really short.
That is a TV show with a bunch of commercials.
Now, most of these Universal sequels are pretty decent films, by the way. If you ever want to follow the Frankenstein sequel sequence or the Dracula or any of them. I mean, there's a couple hokey ones in there, but for the most part, they're making these short, to the point horror movies.
Frankenstein and the Wolfman.
Yeah. And then the next jumping forward point are the Hammer films from in the 60s, early 70s, where you get some good horror of this type.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's actually my favorite interpretation of the Mummy is from the Hammer films, with
Christopher Lee.
I thought that was very well done.
So,
although I do like the Boris Karloff Mummy as well.
Yeah. Well, the Christopher Lee Hammer Mummy movies are a readaptation of the sequels to the Universal Mummy. There's like 5 sequels where Karloff doesn't return until I think the last one with Lon Chaney plays the mummy in like 3 of them. And it's a different mummy. It's not Imhotep. It's another mummy. Clarice, and Princess, a different princess, and a different storyline. But that's what the Hammer films kind of adapted into their movies is the Mummy sequels.
Yeah, in the Frankenstein movies, there are a bunch of sequels. There's the Bride of Frankenstein is the next sequel, and then it's House of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, Cousin of Frankenstein, Something of Frankenstein, Evil of Frankenstein.
Bride, Son, then Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, which is the sequel to the first Wolfman movie. Ghost of Frankenstein, House of Frankenstein. I have a playlist all of them in my Plex. So House of Dracula, which is a Dracula sequel as well. And then, of course, the great one, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Boom! That's my favorite, by the way. That's my favorite is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I love that.
Yep. They should have gone all the way and Spaceballed it and had a father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate of Frankenstein. That'd be great.
Oh, they eventually go everywhere. I mean, I know people think it's hokey, but I love the Japanese kaiju Frankenstein movies. Frankenstein Conquers the World, where he's basically a giant kaiju that they make from the remains of Frankenstein that the World War II German socialists find and try to make into a weapon. But the eventually finds a way to Japan and becomes a giant monster. But it becomes a good guy monster.
Did I just get banned from the comment section?
I don't know what
did you do, Gourd King?
It said I was banned.
I accidentally put you in timeout.
Oh yeah, no, you accidentally banned him too.
What?
Yeah,
I didn't do that.
The Gourd King was banned. Their comments removed. So Red Glitch has been.
I was like, wait a second, I can't
Glitch too.
It says timeout.
Red Gourd King.
It says put user in timeout. That's all it says.
Oh, in our chat on StreamYard, that's what it says. Gourd King was banned, and they're commenting the same thing with Red Glitch.
I've been canceled.
It says put user in timeout.
I'll miss you, Gourd King. We just barely got to know him.
I don't know what happened. I thought it was a timeout.
I said hands up, don't shoot.
So Jacob, are you doing a show next Tuesday?
Yes.
Are you doing a show on Halloween?
Yep.
Which one are you
Dracula.
doing?
Dracula.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So which which one is I mean for the panel, what is your personal favorite of the Universal films?
What direction are we going? I'll go ahead and say I'll say mine. Mine's Bride of Frankenstein. I think that's by far the best one. I love it. I think Bride is awesome. I love that movie.
I'm the first Dracula movie. I'm a Dracula guy, so.
I actually really enjoyed The Mummy.
Yeah, The Mummy's good too. But I love Christopher Lee's Mummy films. So that's what kills,
Yeah,
he was really good.
Yeah,
I liked the Invisible Man a lot. I thought that was good.
That one was pretty good. I think the OG Dracula for me though. It's it's got all the good tropes in it.
If you guys want to go on a deep dive, by the way, a lot of these films with Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, there are silent films that still exist if you can get them to, like the I think Project Gutenberg has a lot of them online for free now because they're in the public domain. You can find, I think like the 1910 Frankenstein movie, if I'm remembering correctly, still exists in some form. It doesn't resemble the book in any very much ways, but except there's a monster in it. That's about it. But it's like, so. But if you're looking for some cool stuff out there, those silent films, the ones that still exist for these horror films, like the most famous one is the Phantom of the Opera with Lon Chaney Sr.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, you should. It's definitive.
I want to see that one.
Like Lon Chaney Jr. is famous because Lon Chaney Sr. was famous and did that movie. It's like
that one's long compared to these other ones. It's an hour 19.
Nosferatu. I was going to mention that too.
Nosferatu. I love the silent era Nosferatu. The look of the creature in that, and just the shots, the shadows. It's beautifully done.
Yeah, it is.
But the lighting, I mean, the Universal films, we look at kind of pound for pound what they did back in the day. And they did some really, like when you go to the Wolfman and the shots in the swamp, I think that stuff was just so well done. Frankenstein in the castle. And the effects they did for Invisible Man were just really impressive for the day, except for the stool thing at the end, not his stool, but the stool. When he was beating the guy to death that was like the weak part of the movie, because it's like, I'm going to hit you with a stool. It's fine. You're dead. But there are gems in all these movies, and they're fun. And that's the thing that a lot of modern cinema just doesn't have, even if it's not fantastic. Like I said, I think Young Frankenstein for me is aside from being a comedy, which I'm not partial to, by the way, but that's my favorite comedy. But they used all the lab equipment from Frankenstein. That's all the stuff that they had. Yeah. They borrowed that for Young Frankenstein. And even the line, get down, you fool, when they're in the cemetery. They do that in Young Frankenstein as well. When Igor's peeping out and he's get down, you fool. But they really set the stage, and they tried to redo them in the modern era. And man, what a pile of Frankenstein poop that was. Not good. Not good. The Wolfman with Del Toro and even Silence of the Lambs.
Anthony
Hopkins. Boy. And then The Mummy, of course, which I think derailed the entire project for them.
But she was hot.
All right.
Any movie you watch once, there's a hot chick in it.
When Tom Cruise can't make the movie work, it's
that movie was
not good.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Compared to the 1999 one, it was inferior in every conceivable way.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you even have the blueprints for the old Universal films. And you guys were talking about this before. I think this was on your stream last week. You don't have a lot of action and shiny object stuff but it's all story driven stuff, mostly dialogue. And still, these are the classics of horror. Like I said, we make fun of the flaws a little bit, but they're still. I mean, they're still out there. People are still buying these movies today, for a reason.
Well, that's because we recognize the time in which they were made, and make certain concessions for that. As far as it's the first time they're doing this, they're still figuring a lot of stuff out. As far as acting, sound wise, special effects, shot wise. It's like you give a 5-year-old a lot more leeway than like an 18-year-old as far as doing stuff.
That's why when they failed now in making the Wolfman and the Mummy, guys, you have literally all the magic in the world at your fingertips, and you can't write a effing story.
I think they have too much magic.
You're right. They rely on that too much.
The recent Cruise Mummy movie looked more like a Mission Impossible knockoff.
Oh yeah,
with the airplane thing and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it's like, look, you just need a monster movie. Hey, what's up, Miss Martin Muses? You know what I mean? It just needs to have a good story, and that's what doesn't happen these days. Is the writing is not good.
They rely so much on the special effects. It's like, oh, people just want the sparkly, shiny. They're not going to pay attention to if the story is actually good or not.
Well, they always, I mean, like when they had the Brendan Fraser Mummy, which, is a lot of fun. They took all the wrong lessons from it, and they relied. They thought everybody loved it because of the special effects. It's like, no, actually, people like it because Brendan Fraser makes for a great hero. You've got a gorgeous damsel in distress. You've got some cool set piece moments and a neat little story. It's like, take the right lessons from it. It's a very self-aware movie. It knows it's a B movie. It's like
right, exactly, and that's where the Tom Cruise Mummy was supposed to be super serious and all this, whereas the Brendan Fraser movie was basically playing off the tropes from the 30s. You know what I mean? And and it had like the overdone gun sounds and all kinds of stuff. It was just a fun movie that told a good story, that was well acted and had actors that you liked in it, or if you were supposed to hate them, you hated them because they were good actors, not because they were just garbage. You know what I mean? Yeah, you hated them for the right reasons.
Well, the Brendan Fraser one, and this is one of the reasons too, is they took the story in the 1930s Mummy movie and tweaked it a bit, but basically remade it. So the story worked. They just made it more actiony or whatever you want to call it, so they had a successful story, that was told very well in a 1-hour film, and
it had some good moments. It had some scary moments, really, like when that he's sucking the soul out of that one guy and he desiccates him or whatever. And there's also but there's a lot of funny moments in there, like when they go to the prison to get him because he knows where Hamanatra is, and they're like, he's gonna get hanged, and they're like, for what? And he was, and he's like, well, he said he was just out looking to have a good time, and that's why he's in prison. And then they were gonna hang him, and he's like, what for? He's like, well, apparently he had a really good time. So, and just that whole thing. And then they had the prison warden go with them, and that guy was comedy relief,
Yeah, I like the part where she says, patience is a virtue. And they're like, not right now, it isn't.
I just like looking at Rachel Weisz in that movie. She looks so good in that.
Yeah.
Yes,
oh my God.
Yeah. And the steamship scene. Can't forget that. Yeah. And then it has those guys come on, and the dude has the hook claw thing and puts a candle in his eye. It's all really good stuff. It's not so over the top where, it's just ridiculous, but it's ridiculous, but it's fun, but it's not over the top and trying to.
Is it almost a perfect movie? Almost.
I really like it.
Yeah, me too.
And it's funny that's the one that like made it through, and they have there's a good modern age version of it, because in my opinion, there is not a good modern age version of these other movies.
No, there really isn't.
I mean, you have several adaptations of Frankenstein. I don't think any of them are. This one's interesting for the time period. Other pieces, I don't like. The Bride is disturbing and weird, and then Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the Kenneth Branagh project, was just not good.
Those
for a lot
are
of
all because
was
those
stupid.
guys are trying to be all artsy fartsy.
Yeah,
and it's too much. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, well, it have to be like it's a stage performance, and I have to.
Well, we can thank
pain.
Coppola for trying to do the too much approach with Bram Stoker's Dracula, because a
lot of people love that. I myself,
I don't like that movie.
I think it is
horrible.
Way too much.
Anyone who watches his movie Dracula either didn't read the novel or was making a movie to spite it.
I remember when that movie came out, and I couldn't figure out what the big deal was.
Yeah, I mean it's well designed, and Gary Oldman's fantastic in it.
Yeah. I mean, other than Keanu Reeves,
but again,
with all the hot vampires,
Keanu Reeves was effing horrible in it.
Oh, that was weird.
And the girl, the skinny girl,
Winona Ryder.
Yeah,
Winona Ryder had no place being in that.
You're talking about the other one, Mina or whatever the hell her name was.
Yeah, Mina Harker is his wife. And again, Anthony Hopkins was terrible in that movie. Terrible. And it's Anthony Hopkins. Good Lord, man. You can't direct Anthony Hopkins, and you've got Carrie Ools in there as the cowboy. And it's just a real mishmash of.
Wait, they had him as no wonder that didn't work.
Yeah, wasn't he was the cowboy, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. Because there's like there's an American cowboy, there's some other jackass, and then they all try to team up to kill the Dracula. Whatever. But Gary Oldman is the best part of that movie, but it's still a real hard sell. I don't like the movie. Again, and there's again a modern adaptation of Dracula that's good.
Yeah. Something surprising. Have y'all seen Renfield?
I haven't yet.
I did.
I have not yet.
I saw Renfield. I thought it was
Nicolas
fun.
Cage,
I thought it was
Nicolas Cage's performance as Dracula was surprising.
Yeah, and it's a comedy.
Yeah.
But he's obviously having a very good time with it. And it's a fun movie. There's some stuff that I thought was a little clunky, but overall I enjoyed it.
I thought it kind of looked like they were going for What We Do in the Shadows kind of vibe.
One knock against it, it has the singing seagull in it.
Did anybody watch Penny Dreadful?
I liked Penny Dreadful.
Especially the first season, it was really good.
Yeah, the first season was really good.
Season 1.
Yep. Yeah. Where he got that C96 broom handle gun. Because it was like brand new on the market. That was also the one where they had a different take on Frankenstein, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But that was in season 2? Or was that?
Yeah,
it might have been.
How many seasons did I get? I don't even remember.
I thought there were 3 seasons and then the sequel series.
That's what it was, and then they moved to America, if I'm not mistaken. City of Angels, is that right?
Yeah.
But I thought that was a fun show. Yeah, Pops, same. First, I mean, again, you just don't get good modern adaptations of these characters. You see like different things, like The Howling. I thought The Howling was a good movie, the first one. Yeah. Everything after that was like a werewolf sex film.
Go watch the 5th one, Roman. I believe it's. I'll give you the details later, but
the 5th one. Oh my gosh!
It's because they just start making. Well, anyway, I'll talk to you.
No, they're not serious movies after the first.
I was gonna say it's like by the 4th Howling, you'd think they'd call the vet.
No,
like, how much Howling is there?
There's just different people like using the name to make movies after that.
Right.
I think it's the 4th or the 5th one where they go back to the werewolf. No, that's the second one. That's on Christopher Lee when he was having fun making that.
Isn't that the one with Sybil Danning in it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's worth watching because you see certain assets of Sybil Danning in that film.
Oh, okay. I remember that one as a kid now.
3 is one where some Australian producers decided we're going to make marsupial werewolves. That was
okay. That was because it took place in Australia, right?
And then the 4th or 5th one was a throwback werewolf horror film where in the olden days when the werewolves actually turned into wolves.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's the 4th or the 5th one, And I have a place in my heart for like the 5th or 6th one because it's the werewolf. It's basically a werewolf fighting a vampire. So
Okay.
You know.
When did the first one come out?
In the 80s.
Oh, that was
in the 80s. Okay, because
it was
80.
Because that had a really groundbreaking visual effects
Yeah.
as far as the transformation of the wolf with the extension of the snout
right,
and everything.
right.
It was cool. They did a nice job with it. That's like my favorite modern vampire film is Salem's Lot. I know it's say modern. It was in the 70s. It was made for TV, but that's the one that still scares the hell out of me.
That is Stephen King's favorite of his own book. It's his favorite adaptation of his book. It's my favorite Stephen King anything. Plus, it starred, what's his face from Starsky and Hutch, who was my hero.
Yes,
who's
also
David
true.
Soul. That's a great, and then he made horrible sequels and readaptations.
Oh,
like, just leave it alone.
Not good. Sequel. Don't watch a sequel.
Bad.
Return to Salem's Lot.
And then
don't see that.
And then they made a new version of it, which was bad. It's like they,
Oh, did that ever come out?
Yeah, it was on TNT.
Did they ever release it?
TNT.
Oh, there was another one, but no, there's another one that's supposed to come out.
No, that they're in works to do, and I'm like, please let it
die. Let it die. Like Frankenstein's monster. Let it die.
Unless Henry Cavill wants to take it over, like he took over Highlander, then I'm okay with that.
I'm still waiting on the remake of Chud.
Why you didn't see Chud's 2 through 17? Oh, that wasn't enough.
Wait, they made a sequel to Chud?
They made that. There are made-for-cable sequels like
Cannibalistic humanoid underground
dwellers. Yeah, it's a fun movie.
I thought Chud was like a zone in Minnesota or something like that.
No, that's
the Chud.
Chaz.
That's the Chaz and the Chop. And then whatever cop for it's basically the same
the underground
thing.
One.
Carnivorous.
My favorite modern Dracula, I guess, adaptation is Dracula 2000, which had a pretty nifty spin on his origin. Spoilers, if you don't want to know, cover your ears. So turned out that Dracula was just his identity at the time, and that after Judas was hung, so to speak, suicide, he was condemned to eternal life, if you remember the thing. So in spite of God, he kept murdering people for centuries and centuries and centuries, creating vampires just to make people so they can't go to heaven. And it was a whole. Eventually, he became Dracula, and all the horrors that Dracula did with the impalings and all that. Till Van Helsing and Harker caught him and imprisoned him. It's a very nifty.
Speaking of Van Helsing, I like the movie Van Helsing, but I think because I see that movie compared to The Mummy a lot because it has a similar feel. But I was asked one time, I was like, well, what's the difference between the two? Why does one work better than the other? And I'm like, because The Mummy's funnier. It actually has a good sense of humor. Van Helsing is kind of dry in its humor. Doesn't really have a lot of humor to it. It's not as self-aware, but it's an okay movie. It's fun. It's dumb fun.
What about Hansel and Gretel?
Never saw that.
That was a weird one.
I mean, we're having a fabulous talk in the chat about the Muffin Man, so
I've been noticing that.
That's a universal monster they never adapted.
The Muffin Man?
Is that a monster or something?
Well, actually, like if you were to talk about the Brothers Grimm story, or I forget if it's Brothers Grimm or not, but the Muffin Man is actually a mass murderer of children.
Awesome.
Oh.
Do it.
That's his actual, like, if you were to look into the lore of the Muffin Man. Yeah.
Because I have Grimm's fairy tales. I'd have to find that one, see. I don't remember reading that.
Well, all those nursery rhymes, because the Muffin Man comes from a nursery rhyme, they're all horrible things. Like Ring Around the Rosie and all that.
Yeah. Talk about the Black Plague. Yeah.
They're warning Cinderella is freaking metal at the end.
And Sleeping Beauty is a little.
Well, that's problematic and cancelable today because the prince didn't ask for consent.
Well, I mean, in the original Brothers Grimm Sleeping Beauty, they have a child together and she's never awake.
Yes.
Oh my.
Yes.
Brothers Grimm stories are
dark.
I don't know why Disney was like, oh, let's look at these
Riding
horrible
Hood actually get eaten by the wolf.
Yes, Little Red Riding Hood actually does get eaten. Like, I don't know why Disney's like, I'm gonna look at these really dark fairy tales and make them happy.
Let's make them cute and cuddly.
Yeah, people know all the
Yay.
Disney versions of those stories, but none of either the Grimm or the older folklore ones. It's like crazy.
Yeah, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, like she gets eaten.
Or even Peter Pan. Tinkerbell is a fairy. Fairies were not something you wanted to spend time with when in folklore.
No.
And Peter Pan was a kidnapper. Like he would kidnap children. Yeah.
Yep.
All of your
I
Disney
didn't
stories
read
actually
this.
are horrifying tales.
What was the prince's name from Sleeping Beauty?
Humperdinck. Oh no, different.
No.
One,
Um,
Humperdinck is Princess Bride.
Humperdinck. Humperdinck.
And remind me if I'm or correct me if I'm wrong, but in Snow
La, la,
White,
la, la, I'm not
the
listening.
huntsman actually, instead of like getting Snow White's heart, he gets the evil witch's heart or something.
What's he do? Make a sandwich?
no, he got a pig's heart and brought it to the evil witch to say that it was her heart. That's what he did.
I can't wait for the more accurate adaptation of Snow White coming from the Daily Wire. I just can't wait.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that's the funny. They tell you it's going to be in their kids section, but they're like, "Okay, kids, this is what we're going to do. We're going to teach y'all what this story really is."
Yeah, we're going to tell you what the actual Brothers Grimm stories are. You're not going to ever be able to sleep in the dark.
Speaking of Brothers Grimm, did y'all see the movie Brothers Grimm?
I did not.
Wasn't Matt Damon in that?
I think
no.
so.
Matt
It was.
Damon
It was.
and,
What's his name?
Was it Heath Ledger?
Keith Ledger, and I forget the other guy's name.
Oh, it's Prince Philip.
It actually was not that bad.
It's Prince Philip that's in Sleeping Beauty. But why he's my favorite prince is because he actually fights. He knows how to fight. He's got armor and a sword and a shield.
And Maleficent's a great villain.
Yeah, and he fights her as a dragon. So it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's a solid cast in the Brothers Grimm. I knew Monica Bellucci was in it. You know.
I also
She's
like
hard
the
to
art
miss.
style from the Disney one.
But Lena Headey's on that one too. That's cool. Peter Stormare, Jonathan Pryce. That's a solid cast for Brothers Grimm.
Oh, did you see they are going to be making Frankenstein? Who is the director?
I think Guillermo del Toro's doing an adaptation.
Yes. Yeah.
And, have Mia Goth.
They've got a nice cast.
Oscar Isaac.
From what I've seen.
And,
But is there going to be a producer with some control over Del Toro to keep his worst instinct under control?
Yeah, you're right. You're right, because it can go bad quickly. He's one. Del Toro's another one of those guys like George Lucas who needs a handler to say, that's not a good idea. Let's not do that. Yep.
You know, like that one guy that wants to go to the bar and drink everything.
Andrew Garfield's going to be playing Frankenstein. I like that. That's a good choice.
And Christoph Waltz is going to be in it as well. I don't know who he is going to be, but I know because there were like those four names that popped up for this thing, and I was like, oh wow, they're going to do it. And hopefully they don't. It would be so nice if they did at least as good as this movie did, because like I said, the other adaptations of Frankenstein, while they've tried to be more true to the book, have come off as either too disturbing, which isn't good for the audience either, or clunky as F, which would be like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is clunky as all hell.
If you read the Frankenstein, if you read this, is it reverse? No good. Okay. You can do this as a Law and Order episode. That's how this is almost written. Like, in a 1 hour long episode, you can basically tell the story of Frankenstein. Okay.
I'm thinking about once he kills Fritz, and you hear dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun,
dun. The Swiss criminal justice system is composed of two equal.
Somehow Richard Belzer's in it.
Jacob, you need to cut that together.
What now?
Yeah, you need to cut that together. He kills Fritz, and then Law and Order. Dun dun.
Dun,
dun. Do it.
Yes, I will do it. I will.
The point I'm getting is that it's not a crazy story. Like, you don't need to gore it up. You don't need to have Frank and have the monster ripping people's heads off. I like gory movies. Don't get me wrong. I watch them, but you don't need that to tell this story.
No.
And I mean, even in a limited sort of half-reared adaptation we just reviewed with the mix of the golem and all the other elements, we didn't see the monster, taking the little girl and beating her to death on the ground, and we didn't see, the people on the ground throwing 18 tons of gasoline on the tower and then firing like 50 guns at him until he was pigeonholed or whatever. All these modern films, like that's like let's say the bad ones, right?
Mhm.
They just fill it with pointless gore, pointless sex and pointless gore. And I only watch one of those, not two of those. You know what I mean? So I leave it to the mind of the observer to determine which one. But and like, so now we're gonna get. You said we're getting another Frankenstein adaptation from Del Toro, who has good instincts. Okay, he did he did a horror film I really liked, and another one I really hated.
Pan's Labyrinth.
That
one I love. And then he did that what's the Crimson something?
Wait, didn't he did the second Hellboy, right?
He did both Hellboys.
Both Hellboys.
He did the first one?
I thought he did.
Because the first Hellboy was totally different. The second one was really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did both of them, but the second one I think they let him do more his thing, and
because it was that's his signature weirdo stuff. Whereas the first one was just pretty cool.
I actually love the second Hellboy. I think it's fantastic.
Really, I like the first one better.
I like the first one fine.
The only thing I like about the second one is the elves, like the sister and brother or whatever. I thought he was pretty cool.
Yeah, I liked his whipping. I thought his whipping was cool.
Movie his that I was thinking of,
But the first Hellboy, I really liked. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Okay, so he did an adaptation. Well, he did Blade 2, obviously. He did a horror movie called Mimic, which I really loved. Another one called Kronos. Kronos was really good.
I did not care for Blade 2 whatsoever.
He did a film called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, which is kind of an adaptation of a 70s movie, which I thought was pretty good.
The 70s movie was terrifying.
Yeah.
When you're a little kid, those little monkey things, they were freaking horrifying.
Oh yeah.
That's why people hate the flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz. You know how many kids are terrified of that, and adults?
Yeah.
I don't like monkeys. It's probably that movie.
What is wrong? Is Red Glitch okay? I think he's stuck. Lord. He may have passed out on the keyboard. It's just So we're going to have a new modern adaptation of Frankenstein. I don't think we'll probably get another one of Dracula unless maybe that's successful, because after the Mummy and the Wolfman debacles, Universal kind of shot itself in the junk with those. And again, why? Because they went over the top where you don't need to. And that's, the difference between the old school storytelling and modern age of flashy magic stuff. There's got to be that line where you can have some flashy magic stuff, but you've got to have a good story. You don't have a good story, flashy magic doesn't matter. No one cares because they're not going to watch it. So hopefully Del Toro, hopefully they do. I'd love to see a nice adaptation of this. I'd love to see a nice adaptation of Dracula. Because I understood The Voyage of the Demeter was just not, it was one of those ones that had, but I didn't even bother with it because I saw so many reviews of it that were just not good.
It was horrible.
Yeah, so it's just like, but it would have been an interesting story to see if they'd done it well, and they didn't, because in what I understood was they threw too many modern thoughts and factors in there that didn't need to be in a movie of that time.
Well,
but they do it anyway.
They apparently didn't read the novel and are unaware that Dracula is not a like horror movie, like schlock gory horror movie monster in the novel, and unless you, again, there are films I would vampires in, and while I'll take my schlock gory bat wings and really weird, some of them are good. But if you want to be true to Dracula, which are some of the voyages you have to be, you have to be true to the concept of what Dracula was, actually, if you want the best adaptation of Dracula, aside from some of the stricter movies, like Horror of Dracula was my favorite, a Helsing Ultimate OVA and the Helsing manga. It's a kind of sequel to Dracula. It's Helsing it's obviously a manga and it's complete, and they had two adaptations in anime. The second one, the Helsing Ultimate OVA, was complete, and it takes place basically the Helsing organization in Britain captures Dracula and weaponizes him, obviously it's a manga and anime, and it's all sorts of explored concepts, and obviously hit a bit over the top as a character, but as far as exploring the nature of evil and Dracula, it's pretty accurate to the book.
I know we talked about this film when we did the canon film stuff. I can't remember who I was talking with, but the Life Force film from 1985.
Oh,
that's a good vampire movie.
Yep.
Space.
That's a weird
Yeah.
freaking movie, dude.
There is
yep.
a remastered version of that, which makes certain scenes even better.
Mhm.
Oh my.
Yeah, I could definitely.
Wow.
That could have used some. Yeah, didn't need much remastering, but.
And that's true to certain European lore about vampires, with the which kind of ties them into fairies with the cold iron and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also very Lovecraftian in the sense of we don't know what's out there that's going to come for us. You know what I mean? Like I've always we used to joke back in the day in college, like what our first alien encounters are likely to be, and our bets were it's going to be like an alien Steve Irwin who's filming us, like Steve Irwin filmed animals, or it's going to be like alien teenagers busting through on their alien space car, wiping out like a city block and then driving off, or knocking people's mailboxes over, or it's going to be alien space pirates. You know what I mean? Like, because we're like the backwaters in space terms. If you look over in the galaxy, but we don't know what's out there.
You mean like time bandits?
Yeah.
People in Texas have alien encounters all the time.
Yeah.
But that Life Force movie was really interesting when it came out, just like how the whole thing worked. Yeah. So it's almost like a zombie movie.
How many times do you have to watch it to actually know what the plot is?
If you
I haven't figured it out yet.
If you watch the remastered one,
I mean, how do you not get a little distracted?
Well, that's true, and the remastered helps with that too. But if the remastered one had some added footage that kind of explained the movie plot,
I thought it was a little pretty straightforward. But just the fact that it came from space and all that. But I also,
or you could read the novel.
Another movie that would be, with modern AI, you could do it or like CGI, but you'd have to do it just right. Would be like a Cthulhu movie. But it'd be a pretty boring movie because Cthulhu shows up, everyone goes insane, and
they did like this interesting kind of low budget Lovecraftian movie a few years ago called The Endless. It's very bizarre because it's kind of taking place in this kind of cultish community and everything. So you're just kind of spending a lot of the movie wondering what the heck is going on, and then it goes like really Lovecraftian near the end. It's like, oh, this is interesting.
The Fog remake, that terrible movie, that kind of was Lovecraftian with the way the creatures were in the fog, but the original 1980 Fog movie is way better.
Well,
story plot wise, it's got Adrian.
That's
Barbeau
a creepy movie.
Yeah.
John Carpenter has a very strong Lovecraftian sense with his movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
Cloverfield, the creature from that looked kind of Cthulhu-like.
You can see some inspiration there.
And Del Toro has had a dream to do At the Mountains of Madness for a long time. That's H.P. Lovecraft's longest written story.
Right.
Really?
Yes. It almost happened, but then some other film, which would have been supposed to have a similar plot, came out and it flopped, so they pulled his funding for it.
Yeah, he could have probably pulled it off because he's just weird enough.
Yeah.
Well, it's a simple, straightforward story, though. It's not convoluted. It's,
Right.
I mean, Lovecraft had some convoluted stuff out there. Like one of my favorites, his story where a guy finds a room with an infinite number of walls. Try to wrap your mind around that. And spoilers, he starts. You know how if you look at a wall and you can look at the wall next to it and follow it, and look at the wall next to it and follow it, right? He starts observing like where some of the walls are and follows them. And as he follows them, he notices that it never wraps around again. It just keeps going further and further off into the distance as one wall connects to another wall and to another wall. And eventually, folks sees in the distance this tall creature-like object walking towards him.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's
Well,
also you're gonna take I could talk about Lovecraft like a whole.
yeah, I was just. Hey there, Nicole.
Or here, I'll give you one more Lovecraft thing. Okay, you guys remember the movie Cabin in the Woods?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a
The
Lovecraft
giant-
story where
turn-
it's a premise of his stories where some nephew inherits some old uncle's house and goes and lives there and finds all manner of horrors. So he starts digging up the basement. At the end, he finds a giant hand with a pulse in his basement. Like a giant, like Doctor Who space vampires who could swat planets with their hands, giant. You know.
I read. Didn't the author of Conan, didn't he do some stories too that were like that?
Howard had a bunch of horror stories.
Yeah, I read a few of his where it was like a detective in New Orleans that was investigating like these voodoo murders, but it wound up having like this Cthulhu connection where they were doing like sacrificing stuff at like these rings of stones out in the swamp, and he winds up getting like captured and sees a creature and stuff. Anyway, it's really good, and I really like those kinds of like stories.
Robert E. Howard's slightly different character, but similar to what you're talking about.
Well, this was modern age.
Like I know, but Solomon came to similar type of story to Lovecraftian stories.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But then I could just go off a whole tangent on Conan. But anyway.
My absolute favorite Lovecraftian story is these dudes find an open grave or something like that, and they're investigating in a tunnel. And the one dude's on a microphone. He's investigating the grave, and at the end, I can't remember what the character name. It's a famous Lovecraftian character, Jonathan Carter. And he goes at the end. He's yelling for his friend Jonathan, like, "What's going on? You in there? He's been in the cave for hours." And then a monstrous voice yells out, "You fool! Jonathan Carter is dead!" It just ends. You know, I love Lovecraft. Just like they don't mess with stuff. You know what I mean? Just when certain things are mysterious, you just don't mess with them. You know. Or the poetry of H.P. Lovecraft.
It's just a cat.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have guessed looking at the cover. It's like there's just little black kittens in there.
Both him and Howard died young.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cosmic cat.
He also wrote science fiction. He's one of my favorite authors, so I can kind of talk about him for a long time.
Wait, is the uninspired reviewer the cosmic cat?
Probably.
Does the cat have a suit and tie on?
Well, guys, it's been a great one. We've gone just a little bit over 2 hours, and it's been a great discussion. Thanks for everybody coming on. Glad Roman was able to
thank you for having
me. Anybody have anything they want to plug?
I've got my Ghostbusters video dropping tomorrow, so you can see all the trauma that did to me. So yeah, because that was fun to watch and fun to make. But yeah, I finished that up today. I'll be uploading that here in just a minute.
Right on.
And be releasing that tomorrow.
Cool.
Matt, what do you got?
Roman has a thing. Is it tomorrow, Roman?
Thursday.
These days is blending after one another. Sorry about that. Am I on another one of yours next week, Jacob?
Yep, Dracula.
Yeah, well, there you go. So those are my next two definites. I had to get my final Wheel of Time review for that crappy episode 8 out. I was gonna edit down my 1 hour live reaction. I can't stomach it.
I can't bring myself to watch it. I just can't.
I will be dropping a book review of Dracula, and we get back to my Wheel of Time book review. So, not Frankenstein, obviously, in my hand. My middle-aged brain is acting up. And that's kind of all I know about, unless my calendar tells me more stuff, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Thursday 5 Pacific Standard Time, we are going to take a look at, and we've got a nice panel, a pretty big panel again put together for Army of Darkness.
Nice.
Groovy.
Yeah, I love Ash. He's just such a fun character, and this movie has a budget, and it's just it's a joy to watch. It's
it's a lot of fun.
It sure is. It's a very memorable movie with lots of quotable lines.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the most quotable of the Evil Dead films.
Yes, absolutely.
I got a little Monty Python vibes when his car drops into the past and the knights are attacking the car, you know.
Yeah,
this is my boomstick.
It's just such a great movie.
It is, and
so fun.
I'm going to be on that panel as well on Thursday.
Same.
I was the only one in the theater who knew what that Klaatu Verada Nictu line meant. The only one. Sad.
So, Mando, you got anything you want to?
I'll be on Roman's show, and I know for the last few weeks I've been missing Literary Souls because apparently October Saturdays have been busy, and I keep forgetting that I'm like, yes, I'll attend the thing. Oh, wait, that's going to be the same time as Literary Souls. Well, crud muffins. So I'm hoping that won't happen this week. I do have an event that I'm probably going to be live streaming at this after Literary Souls. If I'm able to have Literary Souls, we shall see. But other than that, I will also be, of course, doing Dungeons and Dragons on Monday evenings, and then I will also be on your channel again, Jacob, for Dracula, correct?
Dracula, yes.
Okay.
I'll be there.
I want to drink your blood.
The blood, all of the blood. So yeah.
Yes, cool. Saturday, I will be doing a show with JT Gunn and Ms. Martin. We'll be talking about Washington Irving ghost stories.
Nice.
Which will be fun. He's got some good ones. And of course, the Halloween night Dracula stream will be fun. That'll be a great one. And Vex is going to be on that one too. So awesome fun.
Yeah, I will unfortunately be in my driveway handing out candy to ungrateful children.
And I'll be ignoring them.
as they act like Frankenstein's monster. Give me candy. Yeah, and yes, I will also be on Roman's show Thursday. That'll be great. That'll be a fun one. That's all I got. And thank y'all for coming on again. It was a good show, good discussion. And we actually finished early on this one, so we got a little extra discussion at the end.
We had to insert some filler after the 70-minute movie.
Yes, it's only 45 minutes. It's easy to talk.
Gourd King, I made it up to you. I made you a moderator.
Yay! I have a wrench.
After
you have no idea the consequences of giving me power.
Just make sure not to throw a wrench in all of the things.
Yes.
You are all banned.
Thanks to the chat for hanging with us, and it's a good time. And we'll see y'all next time. Everybody have a good week.
Have a good one, everybody.
See y'all
Later.
Bye.